What is up guys, Mrwhosetheboss here, and welcome to my full review of the Oukitel Untitled U8. So when I looked at the spec sheet of this device, it's safe to say I was positively blown away. For just £88, you get a 5.5-inch 2.5D display, Android 5.1, a 13 megapixel camera, 2GB of RAM, and a quad-core processor. The U8 is one of the best built devices I've ever seen. The whole frame is actually made of steel, which means that this thing is extremely heavy. I mean, I'm actually normally a fan of phones that have a little bit of weight to them, but this one is definitely overbearing. I can't imagine this ever being a comfortable weight to hold in the hands. It really is about twice as heavy as most other phones. Having said that, it's got a really nice finish on the back. It's sort of grippy, but at the same time doesn't attract too many fingerprints. The whole design aesthetic is more similar to something like that of the iPhone 6, with its 2.5D slightly curved display and its sort of tapered edges. It looks really nice. So we also have a 5 megapixel front camera, as well as the 13 megapixel rear with dual LED flash, and just below that we have the fingerprint sensor, which is a really nice addition. More on that later. So the packaging that it actually came in is pretty standard, it's nothing spectacular. The box is kind of eye-catching and the included accessories pretty average. While the bezels are thin, they're not exactly the zero bezels that the description claims. The Untitled U8 is a really unique device to grip in your hands. Admittedly, it's on the very heavy side, but it undoubtedly feels like a flagship, extremely well built product. So when we turn on the display, you'll actually be quite pleasantly surprised. For £88, you're getting an HD IPS 720p display. It's not outstanding, this is nowhere near the best display you're ever going to see, but it's pretty serviceable for something of this price. Now 720p resolution stretched across a 5.5-inch display is definitely not retina quality. You can tell the difference here, and pixels do become visible on closer inspection, and in games you do get some aliasing. On top of that, the viewing angles are not the best. They're about 160 degrees, with some distortion coming in as you go further away from that. The display is really bright, but contrast levels and colour reproduction are not the most vivid. So one place where this phone really shines is its additional features. So first of all, we have Hot Knot. This is basically where you can just tap two phones together and it instantly transfers data between them. There are apps for this, but the fact that it's built in is nice to see. Then we have some really clever sort of additions in terms of gestures, things you can do. You can actually answer your call by swinging your phone, that kind of thing. Or you can turn your phone off speaker by putting it to your ears. It does all that stuff automatically. These are the kind of things that just save you time, and they're nice features. Furthermore, we've also got a gesture unlock. So this is the ability to double tap to sleep, double tap to wake, and being able to sort of draw things on your locked phone to trigger shortcuts. It works really well, I was impressed. Now something that really actually surprised me was the instantaneousness of it. You literally double tap and the screen is on, no problems. And I mean, even potentially faster devices on paper don't actually unlock this quickly. The fingerprint scanner is really good. You actually detect your fingerprint 10 different times when you set it up, which is a little bit of a pain admittedly, but it is great at detecting your finger, and if you've got a sort of pin or a password to lock your device, then this thing speeds up your whole experience by loads. And last but definitely not least, we've got the Samsung Galaxy S4 style air gesture support. Awesome. The speaker is a real downside of this device. It has literally no bass and no richness to the sound, and it sounds very tinny indeed, as well as not being particularly loud. So this phone really confuses me, because then on the other hand, the camera is actually really good. It punches well above its weight. You can see that we have a really nice colour balance here, with a good amount of detail, nice depth of field effect, and strong vibrance. Detail is also pretty up there, clearly not in the same league as something like the LG G4, but definitely above average for something of this price. If you sort of look at the buttons on this Xbox controller, you can see that they're really glowing in their own hue, and they're actually very distinguished. I really think that the colour vibrance here is totally on point. So the video this thing captures is not the best. I mean, it's a little bit juddery, there's no optical image stabilization, and although it is 1080p at 30 frames per second, it doesn't quite feel as smooth as something on a flagship. Having said that, overall, the camera is really quite good. Now underneath this sort of colourful, childish, playful theme that Oukitel has slapped on the U8, it's basically running stock Android, so you're getting the Google messaging app, the Google phone pad, all that sort of Google goodness is all yours to have. And to be honest, I prefer this. These apps are efficient, they're well optimized, and they're clean and easy to use. In terms of features, the Oukitel U8 is a bit of a mixed bag. On one hand, it's got tons of personality and flair, it's got a fingerprint scanner, it's got air gesture support, it's got unlock gestures, quick shortcuts. But then when it comes to speakers, this thing absolutely flops, and while the camera is pretty good, the video is really quite shaky. And as with almost everything else about this device, it's tough to make your mind up about the performance as well. Nipping around the device and the UI is actually really fast, given its sort of supposed low-end internals. It's actually really nippy. All the settings, all the apps, they launch practically instantly with very little lag, stutter or issues. What's a little bit concerning though is that when we actually pop over to Antutu, the benchmark, we're only scoring just over 20,000. Now this is acceptable, I mean it's okay, it's average, but then you actually consider that phones costing maybe £20 or £30 more are scoring 45,000 and you're not really sure what to make of it. Then again, the game performance isn't bad. I mean, all 2D games, 2.5D games run perfectly. I mean, this is triple jump and it's running at a smooth 60 frames per second. It's not exactly, you know, bullets flying all over the place, but then again, it's a decent game at that. Now, when we do move over to something like Modern Combat 5, possibly the most demanding game on the Android App Store, things do start to chug. This is running at about 20 frames per second, which is probably just below the sort of cap at reasonably playable. I would say this is not an enjoyable experience, there's just a little bit too much lag for you to really be able to play properly. Then again, remember this phone costs £88, whereas something like the LG G4 or a phone that could handle that game smoothly, like, you know, a top-end flagship, we're talking £600. That is a huge difference. So the Oukitel Universe Tap U8 is quite a confusing smartphone. In just about every single category, I found it really difficult to make up my mind on what I actually thought about it. For example, in terms of build, I find the device really appealing visually. I think it looks great, like a slightly thicker version of the iPhone 6. It's got a really nice feel to it. It's got a metal body, which is really high quality and can withstand a lot of actual damage. But then again, it's super heavy. I mean, this thing is the heaviest phone I've ever used, and it really is quite unbearable sometimes. For this extremely low price though, you'd be hard pressed to find a device with more features. The U8 has a fingerprint scanner which works really well. It has air gesture support, which very few phones at this price do. It also has sort of double tap to wake. It has the latest and greatest Android 5.1 operating system, and the camera is pretty good too. But then again, the speaker is absolutely atrocious, and the screen is hardly a force to be reckoned with. And then it comes to performance, and the device is super fast in day-to-day usage, but as soon as you delve into anything particularly heavy, the phone really starts to chug. And at this budget price point, it is actually performing just as we'd expect it to, nothing more and nothing less. So overall, I have to say, this is a good phone with a lot of flair, a lot of personality, and a really interesting design. For a consumer looking for a phone that's a little bit different, I think you may have come to the right place. Thanks for watching guys, and don't forget to subscribe for more.